So welcome one more time from my side to today's workshop, or we will see. I really try to answer all the questions, so I encourage you to be active. The topic is impact investing, making use of finance to change the world. Why is this? Just a little story to begin. When I was studying myself at the University of Zurich, I was studying traditional banking and finance. And then financial crisis came of 2008. And then suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, what am I studying? Everyone is blaming finance. And I felt even ashamed for all the damage that financial industry caused for many, many people. And I started searching, how can we do good with finance? It was almost 13 years ago now. And fortunately, I could find this impact investment. And this is why I want to share it with the whole world. Since many, many years, I'm teaching on this topic. And guys and girls, to be honest, it doesn't matter from which sector you are or whatever you studied. As in my experience, I've been teaching students, professors, IT guys, bankers, IT consultants. So in 1.5 hours, which we are going to be here together, you will understand what it's about and how you can engage. So this is very important that everyone can get engaged and understand finance. So don't be scared about that. And this is how I suggest we start to the agenda. So what are you going to hear and learn today? First of all, especially if you haven't been in our last workshop, I will dive deeper into definition. What is actually impact investing and how it is different from sustainable investing, responsible investing, because many of people are still mixing that up, and it's important to understand what is what to take the right action. How impact investing is positioned in capital spectrum, because we have philanthropy, we have traditional capital. So where is impact investing there? How is it different? The third topic will be about how impact investing is related to sustainable development goals. What is the connection? And it is actually very, very close. You will see that. Then the fourth, and this is where Ben will come today, he will explain you why impact investing is so important and how you can get engaged. And as well, what are the risks, challenges, and opportunities in this sector? All right. If we are fine here, then let's go to definition and core characteristics of impact investing. So Global Impact Investing Network from United Nations are defining impact investments as investments which generate positive social and environmental return beside financial return. And very important here is that this impact can be measured, and it is measured indeed. So the companies which are naming themselves impact enterprises and also impact investors, they want to see the impact which you are generating as an entrepreneur, for example, right? The market is quite substantial already. It's 800 billion US dollars, and it has been increasing dramatically, doubling since last 5 years, and just 10 years before it was only 50 billion. So it really increased, and we see more and more financial institutions getting engaged, governments are getting engaged. So it's growing, and it's really great to start engaging now. It's the right moment for you guys. Of course, it is also related to sustainable development goals, because the impact companies, they have the intentionality, or we can also call it, they have a mission, underlying mission, which they are trying to solve with their businesses. So it is a business, but it has a mission which is leading this enterprise. It's very important to understand that impact investment is investment with return expectations, meaning that, again, it is not philanthropy and charity, and we will go into that in a couple of slides on this topic. And it's also important to understand, because sometimes people are asking, so what is the average return of impact investing? It is varying from zero to market return, because you can invest in all different asset classes. And also you have so-called finance first and impact first investors. And they, depending on the, how to say, how deep the investors want to go into impact, they might say, okay, I'm okay with less return. Yeah. So, and the others want to get market returns. Impact measurement. So if you are named impact investment company, then you must measure impact. So this is also very important, and it distinguishes impact investment from sustainable investing. So if some of you don't know yet what are SDGs, it's just very short term to remind you what is it actually, right? So they were established in 2015 by United Nations, and they unite 17 goals. And even more, you know, behind these 17 goals, there are 169 targets. And little tip, so if you think your enterprise is solving one of the SDGs, please check the targets, because sometimes people are kind of on the surface and thinking, oh, we are contributing to SDG number 4, quality education. But then when you dig deeper and check the targets, it actually doesn't match. So in order to be able to say we are contributing to that, please check targets that you're really, at least one target is satisfying whatever your enterprise is doing. And as you know, we still have, or only have now, 9 years to achieve SDGs. So I will show you, however, that it's still possible to achieve because there is enormous amount capital available, but this will come a bit later. And SDGs are actually also impact investing themes. So nowadays, when you're looking for impact investment funds, they usually also put what kind of SDGs they are trying to achieve. It makes the life easier of investors and companies. So if you put it out, then the match between you and investor can be much easier. Okay. Some more important points. What is impact investing, right? So you invest here in social enterprises, which are financially self-sustainable. We talked about that. So it's not just for-profit business. It has a mission behind. It is creating and measuring impact, both social and environmental. It is innovative and disruptive, because how else you want to combine return and impact? So usually those companies are using technology or innovative business models in order to combine and achieve returns and impact at the same time. And it is scalable. So we are not talking here about small one-man companies, which can be also social enterprise, but in order to become impact investing and be interesting for impact investors, you need to be scalable, at least to maybe one city or country. It depends. So you can provide more impact, of course, which are investors are looking to get, and also, of course, get the capital back, which they will give you. Okay, few examples that we really see what am I talking here about, what types of companies. One of the companies is called Choba Choba. It's a very sweet one. It's a Swiss chocolate. However, what is so special about that? Those guys are revolutionizing chocolate industry in a way that the farmers which produce cacao beans are also co-owners of the chocolate brand, meaning they are getting much higher income than typical cacao producer would get, because usually what happens that the chocolate producing companies, they are getting all the benefits and they buy cacao very cheap. And so the poor farmers remain poor. Here we have completely different business model. And in addition, of course, the chocolate is organically produced. It's a sustainable agriculture company as well. And they reduce CO2 emission in a way that they bring the chocolate directly to you. So you have much less middlemen in between transportations and so on. And this is how one of the impact companies you could see generates positive impact on environment for people who are engaged in that. And yeah, this is one of the examples. Let's go to the next one. International Biomass Solution, you see this amazing magic grass, which grows 5 times per year like that. And what can you do with that? You can produce protein for animal and human feed. And as you know, nowadays, there are a lot of vegans and a lot of meat eaters, which maybe would like to become vegans, but they are still want to have a taste of meat. So there are such companies which produce vegan burgers, vegan eggs, cheese, and so on, and they need plant protein. So this would be one of the alternatives how you can produce meat out of plants. And amazing thing is that it's also produced in zero waste and belongs to circular economy example. Also, as I was saying, that almost every project generates some kind of environmental impact. This grass absorbs large CO2 emission and volumes, and of course, it is also credible for positive impact in terms of climate change. All right, let's go for some more. The ones who are into pollutions and plastic problems, which we have everywhere on our amazing planet, unfortunately. So they are companies which produce houses out of plastic. And it's amazing because they basically solve two problems, plastic pollution and housing. So there are a lot of people without homes around the world and they lack of accessible houses. And this company, Project Neff House, they did a great job. You can have such a house built in 3 to 5 days. If you are concerned about, oh, is plastic healthy or not, you know, so they produce it and process in a way, of course, with some innovative technologies, that it is remain hygienic, it is healthy. They put some other material like bamboo around, so you will not inhale plastic or anything get into connection with that, right? So this is very important to understand. And of course, the price is accessible. And it would be more accessible, for example, if impact investors come in, they scale the project, and then the company would be able also to decrease the price. And this is why we were talking about scalability before. Then the company would have generate even more impact. All right, let's go to energy now. What kind of projects are out there? As you know, in Africa, there are many families still using kerosene lamps or kerosene for heating or cooking. And what M-Copa did, they created such solar panel, solar kits that replaces kerosene use with solar power. And amazing thing is, because a lot of population is actually very poor, living on less than $2 per day, so they can pay for this solar kit every day with a mobile, right? Very small payments during 1-2 years, and then the system belongs to them. I think the number of 600 homes in Africa is already outdated. I'm sure they already connected much more homes. So you can check that out on their homepage. One more project from Switzerland, which I find also, wow, Project Circlag, especially if you know that some people are facing the problem, they might lost one or the other limb in an accident or whatever it is, right? So they need a prosthetic system. And usually what happens that either it's too expensive in the countries, in the developing countries, and it's not that, how to say, modular and customized. And what amazing here on top is that they produce these legs out of plastic waste, recycled plastic waste, in with very simple production methods that they can produce it even locally in developing countries, reducing the price dramatically. And just imagine, you know, some people have still a piece of wood instead of their leg. And it can really impact your life enormously, because with this piece of wood, you cannot sit, even if you go to the toilet, you need to take it off, right? So if you would have something like that, your life quality is changing dramatically. And this is, I'd like to underline that impact investing are changing systems, lives. The impact is deep compared to, let's say, sustainable investment. And I will show you in the chart how these different approaches are related and standing to each other. Oh, now, very last example, I promise. It is a fund. So they are also impact investing funds, which invest in several companies. So fund is a structure which invests in not in one, but here is 25 companies. And it is managed by portfolio managers from Zurich. And amazing thing is also to see that it's outperforming traditional investments. It was completely fine during COVID last year. So it was just a little bound when all the traditional investment in March 2020 collapsed. It just made little bound and then went up again. And it's also accessible. You can get the piece of this fund from 100 francs already, when many funds usually are starting from 250,000 Swiss francs. So Global Strategic Capital, it's one of our partners also. All right, so just to make it completely clear, crystal clear what is impact investing and what it's not, let's see one more time. So it's not philanthropy and charity. And actually impact investing arise because philanthropy and charity couldn't make our world substantially better, safer, and less polluted. And I don't say that we don't need charity or philanthropy. No, we need them, but they cannot be on their own, you know, and you usually need local social entrepreneurs to be supported with capital in order to solve more problems which we are currently facing. Impact investing is also not socially inclined investment. What is that? I give you one example. So a company which produces shoes in US and donate one pair of shoes, if they sell one shoe or 10 shoes in US, then they donate pair of shoes to Africa, okay? So it is socially inclined investment. It's already good what they're doing. However, when we take out this African social component, this company will be just for profit. So the core business and mission are still missing here. And this is why it is not impact investing. Corporate social responsibility. Nowadays, it's like it must, but a lot of them, of companies are just putting reports, what else they're doing for the people in the companies or for the environment. But it is a lot of times just the marketing. It's not really impactful in a way how it could be. So it is not impact investing. Responsible investing. Again, here we face the following challenge. So actually it's all started with responsible investing when some people couldn't sleep at night and they said, okay, how can we exclude certain industries like tobacco, gambling, pornography, maybe weapons out of our investment scope? And they did it and called responsible investing. So it's mostly exclusion of certain industries, but all the rest which is there, it's a lot of traditional investment, of course, and it's called responsible investing, which generates not the impact that we are looking for to solve SDGs. And sustainable investing. So afterwards, some people said, okay, we can do more. Let's apply some environmental, social, and governance criteria to our investment and look for the best companies in the class. So meaning they applied such criteria like reduction of waste, women in top positions in the companies, for example, reduction of CO2 emissions, fine, okay, and they call it sustainable investing. But still, again, the mission, underlying mission remains the same, making profit, and it is not one of those SDGs. I hope I make it clear. If one of you can show me a science of understanding, I would be very grateful. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Thank you very much. Cool, then we continue with opportunities. As I said, the market is growing. It is 800 billion US dollars already. And there are more than 1,720 organizations. These are direct one. There are a lot of indirect one which are involved, and many more want to get involved. They still need, I call them spectators, and sometimes when I teach, I call to financial institutions, then I call it from spectator to actor, because a lot of them are saying, yeah, it's very important, we should get engaged. How do we do that, right? And so I see next 5 years, those who will not get engaged, they will be left behind, because clients want that, because employees also want that. You want to work for some company, it doesn't matter, bank or company, which is creating at least some positive impact. With Corona, I think it's completely changed also our way of thinking. I hope so, and being also. Hope it will last. And it's really no more doubt that we need to move more towards sustainability and positive impact. Opportunities, of course, it's all about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals here, which are the themes of impact investing. And we had actually an honor to interview the head of European Investment Bank, EIB, who told us, and if you want to learn more, you can just Google it or YouTube it. This impact is Banerjee's EIB, that they allocated more than 1 trillion euro for climate-related solutions for investment. So there is enormous amount of capital coming from various directions, and this is why one of the reasons for you to start your business, if you didn't start it yet, in impact investing, it is now. 5 years ago, I tell you, when I was talking about impact investing to my colleagues or my chef in the bank, they were laughing, saying, yeah, you, Svetlana, with your impact investing. Let's get some clients and sell them some banking products to get good bonus. So it was not me. So I left the bank for impact. And now it's much more in the air. It's much more also on the ground. And there are various advantages for you that also national governments, they allocating funds and technical supports for entrepreneurs which are trying to solve SDGs, because it is on the agenda of governments to contribute to SDGs, and they are allocating resources for that. So they are available. And one more thing, so of course, with impact investing, you reduce your reputational risks, and also you have a goodwill of people trying to help you with your mission, And sometimes if you look for volunteers, even if you don't have money to pay people, a lot of experts will want to join you if they support your mission, for free at the beginning. So it's also possible. But Ben will tell you more about risks. It's his piece of pie, so I don't want to take it. Okay, impact investing in the capital spectrum. How is it different? And it's actually amazing to see that such big numbers, that global sustainable investing assets, you remember a little bit the difference, that we have 30.7 trillions in that market already. But the problem is, and why am I so, how to say, detailed here for you to understand what is what? Because impact investing is only, as you know, 800 billions. And this negative screening, when we just exclude certain industries, it is 19.8 trillions of these 30 trillions, right? So it's a 2/3 of this capital is basically just invested as almost traditionally, right? And impact investing on the top of the chart, you see it's still a niche. And what we are trying to do with Ben to raise awareness what is what and shift more capital towards impact investing, so more companies which create real impact get funded. Okay, here is a chart where you see how impact investing is positioned compared to traditional investment, charity, sustainable investment, and philanthropy. So it is in the middle with both social environmental impacts and financial return. And please don't be confused if you find in internet many representations of that. And I show you one more because people are trying to position it. Some banks are having one definition, some banks a little bit different, some NGOs, foundations, they all trying to position it as they are no, like almost no standard definition, you know. There is this worldwide accepted definition of impact investing, however, which I provided at the beginning. So stick to that one. Then you are on the safe side here, because real impact investors, they understand what is what. And going a little bit deeper to charity and philanthropy, because people are also mixing it up. So to make it clear for you, what is different, right? So usually charity, you donate a certain amount of money, you forget about it, and you cannot monitor whether it's indeed went to the beneficiaries you wanted to support, how much of that went there, how much was spent on salaries for people who were trying to complete this mission. So you cannot really track it. Yeah. And charity is also much more used, when there are crisis and we need some charitable capital, then charities are indispensable. So we need them, of course. And we say that charity is giving and philanthropy is doing, in a way that philanthropists are usually, they know they have a certain mission, one of SDGs, some of them want to solve climate crisis, the other hunger or education, accessible education, and so on. And then they engage for that specific mission, and they can track, of course. So usually foundations, there are a lot of philanthropic foundations which are there around, and they provide long-term solutions for the challenges. They are more proactive, and more independent than charities. But of course, as I said, charity is needed, especially in crisis situations, which can be as war or weather-related crisis situation, which we are facing more and more because of climate change. And one more quote here: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So as one person, I truly believe you can make impact. As organization, you also can create enormous impact. I mean, pop movement, I think it's also one of the example. Ash created it, and then millions of youth is now engaged into that sector and trying to make our world better. All right, are you guys still with me? Show me. Let me check. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, now I did something with my screen. Just a second. Okay, now you're again. All right, perfect. Let's continue then. So this is the iceberg, and this is why I want to really make it clear what is sustainable, what is impact investing. So sustainable investing are needed. Let's put it, it's needed. Yeah, it creates impact, but the impact is rather broad. Many of companies like Apple, Microsoft, whatever, they are still, they are called sustainable investment nowadays, even though they don't have a real underlying mission, they are for-profit companies, but because they are so huge, they can create enormous impact. They can create new standards in the industries. And this is why we need them, and we need them to transform as well. Yeah. But compared to impact investment, which create deep impact, it's, this is like what we really need as an example. And this is why we need impact investing and capital to be shifted into that. So we can transform systems, we can transform behaviors of people so they stop eating meat. For example, who of you is vegan? Are there any? Okay, if you are not vegan yet, watch Cowspiracy and maybe you will get some insights why you should transform to vegan. Or there's another guy called Yurovsky. He's activist vegan. In 1 hour, he explains you all the aspects from health health, ethical aspects, and climate change. And when you hear that, I mean, then you are just ignorant afterwards, knowing all these points, you're still eating meat. So, yeah, but this is another topic, not impact investing, but related to that. Let's go to the historical facts, how people are actually came to impact investing. So before 1980, everyone was just into return. If we get a high return from investment, it's a good investment. Let's buy it. Okay, some financial crisis came and we thought, we should adjust it by risk, right? So if the risk is high, return is high, fine. But if the risk is high and return is low, maybe we should not invest. But after financial crisis of 2008, we've seen that even this is not sufficient. There is a third dimension of investment, impact, which was not considered. Any investment was and is creating certain impact. We were not caring about that, but we should start caring about it now, and we should measure it, because only like that we can see, okay, how is our money is creating certain impacts. So it is a third dimension of any investment. And of course, impact can be negative, and we should turn it to positive. All right, I still have some time left. So segmentation of impact investing and performance. Many people are thinking, okay, impact investment, is it only private equity? Yeah, and for those who don't know what is private equity, it is basically shares, so part of the company which you can own, but they are not listed on the stock exchange, so it's in private hold. But what I can say you that you can do impact investments through all the asset classes, from cash, real assets, private equity, fixed income. They are micro funds, micro loan funds, and so on. They are cash opportunities, not in all countries, but UK, Netherlands, they provide much more opportunities like that. So basically then you put your cash into the bank, which then gives this cash further to social entrepreneurs, which create positive impact. But for you, you have almost no risk there, and you have still a certain return on your investment, right? But of course, private equity is much more risky, but it provides also much higher return. Okay. I was mentioning that there are two types of investors, finance first and impact first. So the finance first, they want to achieve market return like normal investment, but also impact. And they are closer to sustainable investing, which you are talking about. Compared to impact, they are closer to philanthropic capital. But for them, impact, it's not only monetary impact. It is valuable what you achieve in terms of social and environmental contribution. And this is why they are fine to achieve lower impact in terms of money. Okay. This is a very important curve for startups. And if you plan to make one, to create one, or you already one. So where is actually impact investing coming into the place, right? So here you see from Valley of Death, when the startup is just founded, it's called Valley of Death because the probability that you will be successful is unfortunately very low. But still, there is a there is a chance. So I would not discourage startups to stop. But instead of that, you should continue and especially incorporate the mission, because impact investors are also there. So impact investors can be angels as well. They can come into early stage of your startup as well, and also at a later stage till IPO. So basically at the all startup financing cycle, you can find your impact investor, which will support the mission, which is a good news. The performance. Yes, some people, especially maybe 5 years ago, were saying, okay, but can we create this amount of return, or is there a trade-off between impact and return? We need to know the studies and research show. So the most of the promises in terms of financial performance is even better promised And in terms of impact, the same. So there is no trade-off. You can create both in return and impact. There are many market players around the globe. Yeah, and here's just a little snapshot of different players. And the problem is they are fragmented. And with Chamomile.ch, Chamomile Impact Community, we are trying to unite them. We are trying to help companies and investors to find each other. We are trying to establish more more. As I said, are they?
Hi Svetlana, actually you're on mute.
Kamal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
You can hear me. Okay, I was not
Yeah.
sure if there was a technical problem, or could you hear everything I was saying before?
No, we missed you in between.
So what part you were telling me?
I think I missed you like around 5 minutes ago. So if someone could tell, because I too have a network issue.
The last thing that we were watching in the screen was the two bars comparing the financial and the impact investment. That one.
This one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then I'm okay. I don't know what happened, but now I'm happy we are back. So this one you were watching. Great. But you could hear what I was saying about performance. Yeah.
Yes, Svetlana.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then I just continue from here. So the performance, just to be sure, is indeed delivered what is promised and what is in terms of impact and financial performance as per research, which is showing it is both financial and impact performance, it can be achieved. Okay. If we go to market players and size and challenges, so you know there is a huge market out there. Here you see just a little snapshot of companies which are there around the world. And the problem is that they are still very fragmented. Yeah. And there is no true collaboration going on. There are some attempts. And this is why this Chamomile Impact Community, the platform which we created, chamomile.ch, we are trying to bring together the market players, the investors, projects, experts, and newcomers to help the ecosystem to develop further. And so here are some market players more arranged. So they are asset owners, service providers, demand side actors such as microfinance institutions, small growing businesses, and asset owners are really different from private investors, banks, governments are also there, foundations. So really only the ones who are lazy is not engaged in the sector now. So it's really good for anyone who is not yet there, get engaged. How is impact investing in Switzerland? Here are some names, and it is really developing further and further. To show you some numbers, impact investing in 2018 was rather small, still small, but you could see 35% growth on the impact investing even in Switzerland as well. Compared to 800 billions, the global market, I put this dog picture that I was not satisfied at all, because ESG and exclusion is still having the biggest part of the investment. But surprisingly, just after a couple of years in 2019, we see already big step forward. It increased to 50 billions in impact investing. So it's doubled. As I was saying, it's doubling in countries which are engaged because people understand that impact investing, it's not only about impact, but it's also about profit. So it goes along together and people are getting engaged, more and more investors. Impact investing in SDGs. Here I'd like to make a little math game with you guys. So pay attention to the numbers. You remember that impact investing was $800 billion in 2020. Yeah, the global wealth. So all the money in this world, as per BSG report, is 220 trillions. Usually in offline workshops, I ask people to calculate, okay, how much does it actually make? 800 from 220 trillions. So, but we will come to that later. To achieve sustainable development goals, we need annually 2.5 trillions, which is a big number, of course. But when you put it into perspective, that impact investing market is already gaining momentum, and compared to all the money there, it's still a small amount. So if we would just increase impact investing from 0.36%, which is now, to 1%, yeah, we would have this 2.5 trillions already, right? So then it means that it is possible, what I see, there is enough capital available, there is enough companies, innovative companies, which are solving our challenges there. The problem is still the match and action. A lot of people are talking and still caring too much about profit, but even in traditional investments, it is risky as well. It is also not generating sometimes generating negative profit. So what are you talking about? So we need to be more impact oriented, I would say. And especially after COVID, we've seen we cannot afford just care about profit. What do you make with that? If you don't have a good health system, it will not help you. The money will not help you when you get corona. Many millionaires died, right? So it is more about impact as well. And I think people realize that. So why it is so important for planet and people? We talked that governments, charities, and philanthropy alone cannot tackle all SDGs. Yeah, this is why private capital needs to be involved in impact investments, because we see them as one of the solutions of global challenges. Not the only one, but it's one of them. And before I give over to Ben, I will tell a little bit about myself. Who am I at all for those who are seeing me first time? What was my story? Now, of course, I am a guest lecturer on impact investing, TV presenter, coach, trainer, working with projects, entrepreneur myself, speaking around the world, but it was not always like that. I come from Siberia, actually, from Russia, and my family was not very wealthy one, no billionaires there. So I came to Switzerland with a dream. Actually, Switzerland was already a dream. To come to Switzerland to study, it was something like, wow, out of the mind, and so basically when I could achieve that, the university accepted me, and I could study banking and finance. my dream was to be independent. My dream was to travel around the world and see the world. Nothing about real impact. But then this financial crisis came, and I really wanted to do something good for the world. Um, and this is how my shift began towards as a dream, to do something good with finance. And when I found impact investing, I wanted to share it with the whole world. My bank didn't want it to, so I left the bank. I founded a non-profit Galileo International Impact Investing Center. We educated thousands of people, raised awareness about impact investing. I was speaking at many events, offline, of course, at that time. And what I've seen that we still need a platform to unite the ecosystem, because to learn about impact investing was very expensive. And to bring projects and investors, I was doing it one-to-one, but there was no kind of system there. And this is how we created Chamomile, so impact community. It's very, I think, good platform. So go check it out. If you have any project, you are very welcome to register and try to get resources, investors, and so on. We have amazing people there, from top leaders in the government, policymakers, investors, young people, and so on. So really, I recommend that. And here I think, yeah, we are a bit short for questions with me, but Ben, I'm sure will answer all your questions, or maybe one, two questions I can take, guys, please. Yeah, if someone has a question here, please let me know.
Okay, Kevin has a question.
Sure.
Kevin, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. So my question is, I don't really understand the link between Impact Investing School and Chamomile. So if we think we are ready to be part of to join this trending and be investing so that our project can grow up. Um, our project, I think we think complies to everything you said, but we don't know if we should go through Chamomile, which as I understand, is to link people with companies and so, or impact investing school. So I have no idea, because I look on the webpage and there's two options. So I have no idea where we should go.
Okay, it's very easy to understand, you know. So education is one part, of course. So Impact Investing School is focusing on education. We have different trainings. We have also mentorship program. We teach you how to get investors, how you fundraise successfully, how you create impactful and profitable business at the same time. But then Chamomile is a tool where you can then also use to practically get into action. So then you can get investors there and search for resources, connect with other people, find volunteers, get some other events from other companies. So it's a community there, right? So this is how. So I hope it understandable. You can do both. So usually our mentorship students, they are going through educational program and they register in Chamomile and then they're using it as well. So it's complementary. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I think Ben is already here. Guys, thank you very much. It was my pleasure being with you, and thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, Ben will take over, and you can always also find me on Chamomile if you want to ask me directly, LinkedIn. So looking forward. Bye-bye, and enjoy the next story of Ben.
Okay, I'm not going to be as interesting as Svetlana. She's a teacher. I'm just a simple businessman who has been doing this since a long, long time. So I think for those who attended the last time we spoke, just a short background. I'm born in India, grew up in Netherlands, and the last 10 years I'm in Switzerland. I have been investing in windmill parks outside in the water of Amsterdam. So I went through the whole thing of impact investment. It initially started with renewable energy. That's where we started 25 years ago, biogas, windmill, everything. Then slowly came the macrofinance, which I think most of you are aware of. This is giving money to small farmers and businesses all over the emerging market. And that's how we grew. And today, impact investment is nearly into every sector. So I'm also on the board of a lot of financial institutions and also organizations with impact investment. And I'm advising a lot of major international funds on impact investment. One of them is SIA, that's the Swiss Impact Investment Association, where we have 4 kind of members. One are the institutional finances, like pension funds, sovereign funds. The other is the financial institutions, like banks, wealth managers, family offices, asset managers. The third group of investors we have are old families and ultra high net worth individuals. And the last group we have is that if you guys Google, you will find it out. This is about 4 years ago. We brought the head of 12 religions and they came together and created a fund for impact investment. So now we are also kind of supporting them with the investments, because religions have the network, they have the infrastructure, and of course they're the oldest organizations which have been existing for thousands of years. So no organization or system can compete with them. And myself have always been in business since my last year at the university till now, set up companies all over Europe, but always with a sector what, since Svetlana mentioned, since 2015, it is called impact investment. It is called SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. But before that also, it was the same topics, but under different names. And I think one of my biggest heroes is the father of Ash, who created the pop movement, Ash, is because he was one of the first who was speaking about climate change and the damage we are doing to the environment and climate. So yeah, it's a small world. And if you stay as long as I have been there, you basically end up knowing everybody there. I speak around the world. I have been speaking at the United Nations, WEF, World Economic Forum, and all the organizations on this topic since quite a long time. There used to be time I was speaking at the head of the European banking, where the 400 major banks, the heads of all the 400 banks were there. And the moment you spoke about impact investment, something people will look with a big shock on their face. Today, it's exactly the opposite. Today, each and every one of them is trying to cross the other one on the topic of impact investment. All right, and I'm generally always with my kids and with my wife. So that's why I think Svetlana put in their family. So this is, and yeah, speaking. So what I wanted to speak about mainly today is the risk. Risk not for every party, but risk as an investor or as a financial institutions. So if you look at the investor, since we have been investing, and I have been in the field of investment more than 25 years, is that you always look at risk. This is one of the first factors that has been since hundreds of years. But then you start looking into, so I break it. There are many topics. I can speak hours over this topic, but I'll just stick to 2. One is the liability and one is the regulations. The liabilities, I don't know if you're aware that this was in November 26, 2018, a group of 28 banks who have a combined assets of 17 trillion signed up with the United Nations an effort to make the lenders accountable for the impact their business is having on environment and on society. This was a breaking movement. Today, lots of similar things are happening, but I'm talking about 2018. So that means that the businesses or the investors can be held liable, financially liable and responsible for damages caused anywhere, even if it's outside the border. So for example, if a company from Switzerland would do something which creates a damage in Indonesia or Malaysia or something, the company here will be held responsible. And I can name a lot of cases which has happened, and it is getting better and better. So that's the liability point. Another thing is what Svetlana also mentioned about the measurement of impact and reporting of impact. All investors slowly are going to that sector. And the planning is that by, I think it is by 2025, 50% of the world's assets, 50% of the world assets will have to be ESG or will be ESG compliant. So you can imagine what an amazing and fast speed this ESG is going on. And there have been a lot of reasons for it. So, and the liabilities, for example, I think many of you may be aware of, this was 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago in Netherlands, some organizations filed a case against Shell, and they won the case where the judge made two groundbreaking decisions. Number one, Shell holding in Netherlands is responsible for all the 1,700 Shell businesses, no, sorry, 1,100 daughter companies of Shell worldwide. That was groundbreaking. So that means even if a daughter company somewhere in Africa or something causes a damage, Shell here in Netherlands will be held responsible. Second groundbreaking rule is that companies have always been held liable for damages they have caused. That means gas leakage or chemical leakage, forest fire, whatever. When they cause a damage, they can be held liable and they have to pay. This is the first time that the judge said that Shell is liable for the damages which are going to be caused in the future by climate change, because Shell is not doing enough to cut its CO2 emission. This created a worldwide movement. And I'm just saying this is, I mean, I can quote a lot of cases like this, which happened in Germany, in Netherlands also I think 1 year ago, some kids filed a case against the government and they again won, where they forced the government to change its laws on the CO2 emission. So this is one of the main grounds where I find that this moment is a new ground break, is using justice, using the law and order to fight these kind of companies. Of course, you're limited to democratic nations. You can forget doing this in countries like China or something, but here in the West, you can do that. And in most of the other democratic countries, you can do that. So you can hold companies liable, and this really is worrying the businesses. So that means for impact investing or impact business, it's how do you say, the gold rush time. So everybody, and that's what is also happening. If you look at the financial side, business sides, companies are moving into it. It's going on. Second is the regulations. The regulations are catching up like anything all over the world, especially in the Western world, and especially also under the leadership of President Biden from the United States. He's pushing the regulations like anything. Europe, I was in a meeting with the owner of a couple of banks. He's the head owner of SEB Bank. He mentioned, I was in a meeting with him last week, when he mentioned that all the banks have to watch out, that the regulations are catching up faster than the banks are adapting. That means the banks have to watch out where they're investing, because they have to report on the impact of their investments. In other words, those good old times are slowly getting over, where the banks can invest anywhere in the world and get away with it. Now they can't be, because they will be held liable. And this is not only a case of financial liability, this is also the case of reputational problems. So this is catching up. In Netherlands also, there was a case like this. Oh, sorry, not in Netherlands, Switzerland. In 2016, there was an initiative passed where they wanted to hold people responsible for these kind of things. So these laws are coming in. And institutions are changing themselves. Like Svetlana mentioned earlier, European Investment Bank. They already have some, from this January, 1st January, they have the law that, or not the law, a regulation inside the bank that they will not invest in any business which is not aligned to the Paris Agreement. So these are a lot of things happening on the thing. And the best part people generally forget is another very powerful mechanism is disinvesting. Lot of major investors are backing out, including BlackRock. Even BlackRock has now started coming up with regulations that they have become kind of activist, that if the company or the business is not following certain environmental or social laws, BlackRock will withdraw, or they will push the company. I don't know how many of you read the news. 2 of the board members of, I think, Exxon were fired last week, exactly for this reason. So these changes are going on. So both the points, the liability and regulation, which is having impact all around the world, and especially impact is getting more and more powerful. Whether on our TV show, for example, we had from Japan, even in Japan, in India, in Europe, in US, everywhere regulations are catching up. So that makes it really, really interesting for us. Opportunities, of course. I mean, I can't say more about this. So the businesses where we have been involved with or which we are aware of, one is the decarbonization industry. It is booming like everything. This can include a lot of in businesses or companies which are innovative or technology or something, especially from the Nordics also, who are taking about carbonizing or decarbonizing the atmosphere, taking carbon out of the industries. Citizen activation, Svetlana gave a lot of examples. New fuels, I think you guys are all aware of the new fuels that is coming in, whether it's electric, whether it's biodiesel, solar, hydro. One of the things is the issue which people generally complain about in solar power and in wind power is that it is supply dependent. So when you have sun, when you have wind, you have the energy, otherwise you don't. So for that, you need the battery. But you also have natural renewable sources like geothermal. That is not supply dependent, that is demand dependent, which everybody is looking for, because they say, oh, coal is demand dependent. You can have coal in energy whenever you want. Then you have taxes, financing, what I mentioned, that there are a lot of taxonomies, there are a lot of things coming out. One of the organizations which I'm in the board of is the Climate Leadership Coalition, which has been behind the policies and laws which have been created in EU, which is called the Green Deal. Now we are working on the implementation of the Green Deal. So that's where the taxes, so we are using taxes and financing. There are many, many ways of doing that. And we are busy on a lot of factors. And one of the factors which I spoke about it more than 10 years ago, and which is slowly coming into action, is a border tax. That means if I produce a product which is environmental friendly and which is sustainably created, but somebody else from China or something brings a product which is not sustainable created and which is not environmental friendly, but which is 5 times cheaper than my product. Normally speaking, under market economy, I won't be able to compete with them. But now we can, because there is going to be border tax, which is an environmental kind of tax, which will be put on those. So those products will not enter the EU market unless they really become fulfill the EU regulations or they are extra taxed. Similarly, we have the energy storage, which is a booming business at this moment. We have so many cases and projects coming up with energy storage. Smart grid, I mean, I think most of the people, even in India, Africa, so many people are talking about smart grid, or because in some places they are doing this leapfrog. So instead of going step by step like Europe and the rest of the world went, they are jumping ahead. And in fact, in some places in Africa, I have seen people using smartphones far more advanced than in Europe or something. So they have this advantage coming in. Building products, which I think most of you who know about building, you know that cement or concrete is one of the most carbon emitting product. It's extremely damaging for carbon. And which, for example, China does. China builds everything with concrete and cement, which is very, very, how do you call it, bad for the environment. But there are now alternative products coming. And forestry and land use is one of our favorite, because if you do forestry properly, if you use forestry properly in the economic nature of something and the land use, this is where the opportunity lies. Agriculture, I also spoke last time, there are a lot of new agriculture products coming on, vertical agriculture, vertical farming, urban farming, rooftop farming. These are all coming up, and also in sustainable ways and things like that. Challenges, yes. One of the things is that around the world, startups and entrepreneurs are still not aware of impact investment. So many, that's why we are today in this speech, in this program, is to just increase the awareness, because people are not aware. There are businesses in Africa which are amazingly good, but they are not aware that the resources here are available to finance them, but they are not aware of it. And same like the resources here, the banks, the financial institutions, investors, they're not aware of what is available in Africa or Asia or India. And we should not forget, these emerging markets are where the money is being made today. If we keep to the old fashion that we keep on investing in the German economy bonds the German government bonds, Dutch bond, everything. Some of them, or most of them at this moment, have negative interest rate. But if you use the same money and invest it somewhere in Asia or in Africa or something, you make interest rates which are far above the market rates. That's exactly the reason why impact investment funds are performing so good worldwide. So that's one of the really a big challenge, is to make people aware of what is available, what is not available. And it's not only about knowing. So me sitting doing a project in Africa, I find out by Google or by internet that there is a fund who, so I'm doing, say, for example, sustainable agriculture. I want funds. I look on the Google and I find enough in Europe, in Netherlands, or in Germany, there's this bank or this financial institutions who invest in sustainable agriculture. But that's just the start of the story. That's not it. Because if I do not give the proper documentation, proper everything in order, I will never ever get a cent, because these institutions are getting hundreds, maybe, or tens or hundreds or maybe thousands, these kind of offers. So you have to do it properly. And that is really, really a challenge, especially you have inter-regional problem, you have inter-language problem, and you have intercultural problems. So these are the things which also Svetlana must have mentioned, we also teach in our school. Just study it, learn it, and do it properly. Because at the end of the day, the financial institutions still, I'm sorry to say, are still working with the same methodology, the same principles that they have been working the last 30, 40 years. So that means if we come with the most amazing business, but we do not tick one of those boxes which they expect you to tick, you will not get support from them. So it is really important, and this is really a challenge for a lot of businesses. So lack of awareness and education, like I mentioned, and this is valid for both sides. The businesses are not aware of the resources available, and the resources are not aware of the business available. Secondly is the fragmentation. There is so much fragmentation in the market because it's a new sector, but this is normal. Every new sector has it. There's too much fragmentation, and there is not too much collaborative communication, because the impact sector is much more transnational than the other sectors. I mean, I'm just kind of generalizing. There are always exceptions. In generalizing impact sector, if I remember from my experience, it started from US, Europe, India, and India suddenly became one of the world's biggest, if not the biggest, where most of the fund is going into, impact investment fund, because of the microfinance, alternative energy, sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, whatever is SDGs you can think of. In India, there's more than enough to do. So, but this still, there is a kind of not a global community. It is not that we have a community that I'm from Switzerland and I'm aware of all the business in India, and in India somebody is all aware of all the finance in Switzerland. That's not the case. There is no global impact community yet. Organizations like POP is an ideal, how do you call it, the fertile soil where this kind of community can grow. Doesn't matter whether you are in Americas or in Asia or Europe, you all belong to one community, one globe. And this we have by now. If we have not understood that, then I think the whole point of our discussion is over, that we are all interconnected. We are all the same. We all live on the same planet. We cannot say that let Africa and Asia go to hell, in Switzerland we are safe and free. No, that's not the case anymore. And also what the third point is, that no platform really exists which connects impact ventures, investors, and experts on win-win-win principle. It's always at the cost of other. So Chamomile is one of them which has been built, but Chamomile is not a commercial platform. But if you look at the commercial platforms, there you either have platforms which are from the investment side. So that means the investors will pay the platform owner, or it is from the business side where the business is paying. So there are a lot of them, but this is really a major challenge, that there's no global thing available for this. The future. So as per the McKinsey report, and this is also 2 years ago, this was before the Corona time, that this will cost 25 trillion by 2025. Corona has speeded up, has really speeded up for many reasons. One of the reasons is because people lost money in traditional business. They're looking into impact business. Other reason is the awareness have suddenly increased immensely. People have suddenly become aware that, yes, I'm making my money on oil company, cool, cool, hurrah. But oh God, oil companies are now ending up with stranded assets, or oil companies are getting sentenced by courts, or oil companies are being forced by regulations or governments to change different things. People are losing their money, a lot of valuations. So this is pushing people more into impact investment. So these are a couple of reasons why so much movement is going on in the market in the sector of impact investment. This is, of course, Svetlana's presentation. So what we want to do, and which in fact Svetlana started before the meet. I was just in simple businesses doing business, but what Svetlana started is make impact investment the new normal. So we do not have to go tell anybody, oh, impact investment, and they will look very strange and say, what on earth are you talking about? And say, oh, we do good for the society and environment. Oh, okay, that's good. Don't call me, we will call you. No, that thing is over. And I think Svetlana has achieved it all. At this moment, if you talk about impact investment, today I was speaking with the head of the banking union in Liechtenstein. There was one more, I forgot with whom I had a meeting today morning. Oh, from States. Everybody knows in the financial institution today what is impact investment. Of course, they all have their own definition. Of course, they are trying to brand it. Of course, they all claim to be impact investment experts. And there is a lot of greenwashing going on, a lot of other things. But okay, regulations are, we are supporting the governments to create the regulations, which will slowly put more and more pressure on them. Also, businesses, they are coming forward and saying, I want to create. Today, there was a business pitch. He made a pitch to us for investment. His business at this moment is not regulated. So he is in a sector which is not a regulated business, but he is aware that it is going to be regulated maybe next year or maybe in 2 years. So now already at the startup of the business, he is not taking advantage of the fact that the business is not regulated. Hurrah, let me do whatever I want to do. No, he's already thinking about 2 years further when the regulation hits in. So he's already now implementing the points so that 2 years further when the regulation comes in, he will have no problems. So that means impact investment has already become a new normal. And sometimes the regulations are ahead, but most of the times the regulations are behind. They are catching up slowly, but it is a new normal. So I would say in this way, Svetlana has succeeded with her. This was also her motto when I first met her. So then we come to the summary of today. I think Svetlana explained to all you guys what is impact investment, the definition. I mean, she can say it so much, billion times more than I ever can even dream of. The difference between sustainable investments on practical examples, because this is really important. There's often people do not understand the difference between impact and sustainable. What are SDGs? I think in today's world, nearly everybody knows what is an SDG, but for those who didn't know, I think Svetlana explained it, and how it is connected to the impact investment. And last of all, why impact investment is important for planet and people. At the end of the day, it's really depressing. At the end of the day, I heard it from the United Nations, you need 1% of our global GDP to solve all the SDGs. But we can't even get that 1% because nobody wants to give it. On the other hand, we lost more than 4% in the corona pandemic, which is also one of the results of the loss of biodiversity and the damage we are doing to the environment. And the corona is just one. I don't know if you guys are aware, but last year there were 2 pandemics. Corona was one of them. The second pandemic also, which originated from China, but luckily it did not jump from pork to human. But that was also an immense pandemic, which made China destroy, I think, 50% or 60% of its pig population. So these pandemics are just the starting. If we do not change our way, if we keep on damaging the biosphere, the biodiversity, the way we are going on, and if we keep on damaging our forests and our natural resources, this pandemic is nothing compared to what is coming behind it. And this I have spoken already 6-7 years back, even at the United Nations, that when everybody was jumping up and down about the migration, I told them, guys, you are worried about the 1 million people coming to Europe. There is more than 50 million behind them if we do not watch out with our climate change, because major migrations have always been the result of climate change historically seen. So, but we are all jumping up and down about the 1 million. So impact investment is important. This is the only way we can save our planet, our people. Okay, I'm lazy, I'm thinking only about my family in Switzerland, but even in that case, impact investment is the only way we can do it. If we do not change our ways, then we have a serious problem, and especially our kids. So I hope I could make more of you change your mind about not going to a oil digging or other kind of business, but try out also an impact investment. And also what Svetlana mentioned is to not only be spectators. We all love being spectators. We all have judgments. We all have opinions. We all have ideas about how the world will be a better place. But I'll get into my diesel car with a SUV and go to my neighbor who is 50 meters ahead. No, stop being a spectator, become an actor. Don't tell others what to do unless you're doing it yourself. And this is everything. And even tiny, I mean, there are so many businesses case. I mean, I can spend the whole evening on this. Little things that we can do can make so immense difference to the world. This is our vision. So we have the three things like Svetlana mentioned, the school where we are educating businesses all around the world, SMEs mainly, small and medium businesses, on how to convert themselves into impact investment business. And we do the whole sector. So from supporting them with the setup, structure, business, getting them funded and standing on their own feet. Second, I also mentioned the Komal platform. And last of all, we also have a TV program this every Friday. You can find us on YouTube or something, just do Swiss Impact and you will find the TV. And you're most welcome to become, if you click on it, how do you call it? I'm not very technical. Subscribe. If you subscribe on it, then it will, you will get all the information. So here we have many world leaders from financial institutions, investors, and all coming to speak on impact investment. Chamomile, I think Svetlana told you all about it. The countries where till now we are very much involved with are these. Of course, India, Netherlands, not difficult, Romania, US, Malaysia. So these are for the educational sense, who are our partners. The next thing is, yeah, we have been traveling around. In case you guys don't know who that guy down is, he's Sir Ronald Cohen with Svetlana. He is kind of sort of called the father of impact investment, although which is not really completely true. Investment has been there since much earlier. And one of the fun part is that impact investment may have, I'm not 100% sure yet, it may have originated even in the religious institutions, where people, when they invested something, but this is long time ago. I'm not talking about now. Long time ago, that I'll invest in your business, or I'll invest, give you money as long as you do this and this, as per the religious code. For the society, you do something good for the society, you do something good for their environment. So it has been there. Then comes the next one. Yeah, these are some of our partners. Many of our partners, by the way. So this is again Svetlana's thing. So what is our mission? Our mission is to have the SDGs, and our mission, at least I have two sons, 14 years and 10 months, to keep the world at least where we are now, because my childhood was far better than what the world today is, but the way we are going, the world they are going to inherit will be far worse. And it is already going on. So implement the SDGs, focused fully on the SDGs. In this case, we have the UN as our partner, and we have a lot of major institutions as our partner. This is one of the, I don't know if you guys have seen the film Avatar. That's like one of my favorite nature description. There are countries which are still like that, New Zealand and all that, beach, but we don't have them. Slowly we are losing them all. This is extremely important. If you guys have time, watch our show with the head of the UNDP. This was, I don't know when it was a couple of weeks back. So if you do Swiss Impact UNDP, you will find elephants are on the brink. So like I mentioned, humans, we always think like this. Okay, I'll do this, this will have this impact, this will have, we think linear. Nature does not work with linear. Nature works with tipping points. It reaches a point and then it crashes. So if, so for example, Amazon forest, today the average size of each pact is, I think, 17 hectare or something. The way we are destroying it, in the next 10 to 15 years, it will become 6 or 5 hectare. The moment it reaches there, crash, there is no Amazon left. So that's how nature works. So we have to act before the tipping point, because once the tipping point is hit, there's no way you can turn it back. If you have chance, read the report of the scientists at the WEF this year, at the World Economic Forum, where they said we are also reaching the tipping point in the ice. We always have the calculation the last 20 years. Oh, the way we are warming up the world, blah, 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 in 2 degrees, that the ocean level by the end of this century will rise by 20 centimeter. Sorry, that's completely not true. We are reaching a tipping point where when the methane, there is a kind of temperature roll where the methane release comes. When it comes, all ice will disappear within a year. The ocean level will rise more than 20 to 30 meters. And it is irreversible. We cannot stop. Once it starts, we cannot stop it. So if I would sincerely advise you guys, if you have the time, read that report. It's at the World Economic Forum website. I'm sure you can download it. Otherwise, write us an email. I'll send you the report. Elephants have the same problem. The way we are killing them, the way we are butchering them, if we go on like we are going on, in 10 years, they will be gone forever. Absolutely gone forever. So this is the world we are heading for. Family, of course, that's our mission. These are the 2 kids of mine with Svetlana. And this is very important for me because my son, since childhood, he wants to be a marine biologist. And he always, he's also, how do you call it, a certified diver. He has been diving since a very young age. He is crazy about sharks. He always has been crazy about sharks. We are killing more than 280 million sharks every year, thanks to the shark fin soup and all that crap. 280 million. We have brought down the shark population worldwide by 95%. So that means by the time he grows up, there will be no sharks. And these are the damages we are doing. And we are still doing it. Despite of all the talks and everything going on, we are going on doing it. So these are the things we have to stand for. We have to protect our nature. This is an attack not only on us, it is an attack on our next generation, which is constantly going on. So, and I heard that a lot of children in the young youth who are getting depressed because they're suffering from a sort of nihilistic depression because they feel that they cannot stop it, they cannot do anything about it, and this destruction is going on. And this has to stop. The kids have to get their hope back. And the positive side of the story is that what I think Svetlana mentioned also earlier, that by 2025, 50% of the world assets will be ESG compliant. So this is a very, very strong change that's happening. So if I have not made you guys, how do you call it, depressed enough, you can ask any questions you want to. There is something in the chat. Problem is, I don't know how exactly this works. I'll try to make it work. What's your favorite part of your work? I think the best part of the work is to every day do something which has a meaning, at least in my sense. That means do something for the environment or do something for the society. I hope that's all I can say for the moment. I think I depressed everybody so much, nobody dares to ask any questions anymore.
Does anyone have any question? Yes,
And
Kevin.
just a sec, I don't hear you. Yeah,
Kevin,
yeah,
you
now
are
I
on
hear.
mute.
Yeah, thank you. Ben, I already asked where we should contact you through so that we can put our project and contact investment and everything. So Sveta already answered us. But the thing is, as I understood, is that you are also advisors. Is it, if I'm correct, how can we contact you as advisor group for our project?
No. We are advising financial institutions on how to invest. And in business case, we educate the businesses. So we educate the business. You will I think find everything on Chamomile, or I think Pop Ash or Komal may be able to give you. You can find all the information on us on the internet. So we advise businesses on how to completely from structuring, setup, making an investment ready to getting it invested. So it's not really like an advisor, but it's more as an education. Or otherwise, you can always write an email to info@impactinvestingschool.com.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So Komal, then I give it to you since you are chairing this. Oh, somebody wrote it already. Oh, Komal
Thank
wrote
you,
it
Ben.
already. Thank you, Komal.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful, and our deepest gratitude to you and Svetlana for such a meaningful conversation, such a wonderful talk today. I'm sure that all of us present here have been so empowered, and like we all are taking so many things with us that okay, now we are going to have our project and we can, this is the way to follow. So yeah, thank you and Svetlana very very much. And yes, we would like to take questions if anyone have any more. We have time for the questions, so the panel is open for everyone.
I think
Okay, everyone is seems to be so clear.
or maybe they're too scared. I think they're all getting drunk after getting so depressed, hearing the statistics and the condition of the world.
But we have received one question in the chat. What has been your biggest challenge?
I think communication, because the thing is, it is changing. Initially, when we went and spoke to somebody about impact investments, especially financial institutions like banks or funds, they all looked with this glassy eyes and thinking, oh God, we must be one of those charity looking for charity. So the perception was very much like impact investment is a charity or it is a philanthropy. And that has been the biggest challenge. Luckily, that is changing. Luckily, that's changing now very fast because of a lot of reasons which I mentioned earlier. But that has been a really big challenge to make people understand that, oh, I'm giving fund to a business in India or fund to a business in Asia or Africa or Latin America. My money is gone. I'll never ever hear it of back. So this perception that it's a one way, that's completely wrong. In fact, if during the financial crisis, if you look at the, how do you call it, default in payments, the default in payment in the Western world was nearly 30%. Do you know how much was the default in payment on the impact investment funds in Africa and Asia? Any guess? It was 0.1%. 0.1%. Because
That's
the poor
amazing.
women, the poor farmer, they did not default in payment. There was a social, there are many reasons for it, but they did not. But here, the richest of the richest, our default was more than 30%. So in that way, impact investment is far more secure and safer than traditional investment. And now we already, by the COVID and by all the things that's going on around the world, especially with the climate change and environmental issues. Normal investments is really becoming a liability. I can invest somewhere, but like I mentioned earlier, if I get sued by somebody because I invested in a gold mine in Malaysia and they put some chemicals in the river or something, and some people die or something happened, they sue me, I lose not only my investment, I can get into severe problems. And that is the problem, the perception that is changing slowly. It still has a long way to go. The problem is, okay, this is my opinion. The majority of the decision makers in the Western world is still 65, 70 plus. I mean, look at our world leaders in the Western world. Everybody is 65 plus. Uh, some are quite high 65 plus, some are a bit low 65 plus, but everywhere. But these people are coming from the world, which is so very much different than the world we live today. And it is so very much different than the world which 20 years from now will look like. So how can we let these people make the decisions?
So Ben, according to your view, if you could please advise us how young people should proceed with this kind of a project. Like if I have some project with me and I'm looking for investors, so whom I should directly target? Like what should all I have with me before I think that okay, they'll be the investors who will actually invest me, or my project is something that I can take it forward to some,
That's
as you mentioned, that 65 plus investors.
yeah, no, that's I'm talking about the political leaders. No, the what question is, that is exactly what we are teaching, is that there are so many steps you have to fulfill. Your setup, your structuring, your business. How? Because like Svetlana mentioned, I can say that I have an impactful business. Doesn't mean it is impactful. I have to show that it is impactful. I have to measure it is impactful. And even after you have given me the money, next year again I have to prove that it was impactful. So there are a lot of factors, and that's what we educate. So when you come, we tell you exactly what you have to do, how you have to, and if you follow the steps exactly as you have been told, then we also get the financing because there is enough resources available. But these steps have to be followed. I mean, to answer it in 1 minute is very hard. It's a lot of processes you have to go through. But I think the best way to start is, especially if you're young, have a dream and go for it. Forget what your parents tell, especially me being an Indian. Believe me, our parents always have a lot of opinion about what we should do. Forget it, because their world does not exist anymore. So do what you believe in, do what you dream of, and go for it. Doesn't matter what anybody says. And especially doesn't matter what older people older than 30 says. Just go for your dreams.
I think this is the biggest takeaway for me today, that do what your heart says and just be passionate what you want to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And with that, like we are at the end of the session, and we are like running out of time. So I share my deepest gratitude to you and Svetlana for being so kind, conducting 2 workshops at the festival, and we really enjoyed it. We are really inspired, too much inspired with the way you taught us, and I really believe the people who are present here in this workshop, we all have so many things to follow now, to take away with us, and yes, we will follow the steps definitely.
You're most welcome. I mean, when I saw that the information Svetlana had put, she wanted to give in 1.5 hours, I was thinking, how on earth are you going to do it? But of course, she did it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you in the next session, which is actually the launch of Climate Aid Forum by the Pop Movement and our young leaders. So I am putting the link in the chat. We'll see you there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.